Welcome back. You're still watching Nile Cruise on Nile TV. For the first time, Egypt has shed light on the role of women abroad as part of the Atta al-Marbuta initiative or conference taking place this week, initially launched as an initiative by the National Council for Women to highlight the importance of the female participation in the economic, the political and the social fields. The two-day conference took place last week, sponsored by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, organized by the Ministry of Immigration and the Egyptian Expatriates Affairs in cooperation with the National Council for Women, the NCW. The Minister of Immigration and Expatriate Affairs, Nabila Makram, said that the expat Egyptian women have significant power to reflect the Egyptian image to the international community, adding that the 31 participants hosted have managed to occupy vital positions in different fields. Among the remarkable participating women is our guest for today, Dr. Iman Rashwan, the PhD holder from the European Program of Law and Economics in Germany. Dr. Iman, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for the invitation. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Good afternoon to you, Dr. Iman. Now, before we start to talk about this very important conference that took place here in Cairo last week, now you were a student of law, and for girls and for women, that is somehow a difficult subject, and you're also interested in human rights. So tell me, how did you start your passion for law studies, legal education and human rights?
Well, you know, in Egypt, education is kind of different, so the opportunities for going for the study you really are passionate for are not very available. So I went to the law school because it was the available one. Okay, I had a high grade, but I couldn't go to the media school, which I wanted for. So I went for the law school, the English section of Cairo University, and then from the first semester I filled for the constitutional law. It became my passion, and I decided that I will be one of the teaching staff in the university. And I did. I was one of the top students of my class, and I was appointed as a teaching assistant in the public law department. And then I did a master's in law and administrative sciences in Egypt, and then did another LLM in law and government with concentration on constitutional rights in the US, in Washington, D.C. Then I joined the first batch of presidential leadership program for the youth. And then I traveled to Europe to start the doctorate in law and economics in 3 different universities, in Bologna, Italy, Erasmus, Rotterdam, Netherlands, and Hamburg, Germany. So yeah, it was a tough path, but I mean, it's 2017 already, so it's ridiculous even to speak about the difference between men and women in this era. I mean, yeah.
But you wanted to be studying mass communication and enrolling in this field.
Yeah.
So how did you fall in love with the constitutional law, as you said in the first semester?
I don't know. It was like destiny.
What attracted you to it?
Constitutional law and administrative law, which are together the public law, are not too much attractive for even law students because they think it's too tough to study them, and they don't have like an emotional side like criminal law or family law like other branch. But it was very attractive to me because it governed the relationship between the individual and the state and the different divisions of the state itself. And this is a very like delicate relationship because you have to make an equilibrium between the individual rights and the public good, which is very hard to like coordinate.
Yes.
That's why I found it very interesting.
Okay. Dr. Iman, you were honored during the conference. Tell me about your participation in the conference. How did it feel for you when you were honored?
When we first, me and my colleagues received the invitation from the Ministry of Immigration, we didn't think it was like a ceremony for honoring us. We thought that Egypt is calling for come and let us use your like experience. Like what happened in the Egypt Can conference one in Hurghada, I think.
Yes, last year.
Yeah. So that
it was Egypt Can with its scientists.
Yeah.
today,
So today
last week, this year, it's women.
Yeah, exactly. And it was actually a multifunction conference because in the beginning we thought we are coming to make like scientific presentations or scientific initiatives to benefit the Egyptian state and the Egyptian society, but then they told us no, sometimes you will talk about your specializations and how to make an initiative in this context. Sometimes you will talk about your path, your career to like inspire other Egyptian women, and for the honoring part. And it was very, very touching because when it comes from your home country, it's totally different than any elsewhere.
So what is the difference between studying in your home country, as you said, and the difficulties that you have faced in Germany, for instance, to be attaining a PhD in economics and law?
Well, the difficulties in Egypt are about the resources. You don't have databases, you don't have the tools. Even for a PhD, a typical PhD program for law in Egypt, there is no courses, no interaction, no seminars, no deadline, nothing. It's just you and the library, which is already in most of the cases relatively poor. So yeah, maybe it was easier to do it here, but I thought that I wanted to get a very good education so I can come back to Egypt and transfer this knowledge and education to my students. That's what all my life is about, education, legal education. So then comes the difficulty of studying abroad. It's a totally different legal system, educational system, environment, society, and you are all by yourself, no family, no friends. So you are starting from the scratch in everything. So yeah, of course it was challenging, but that's how you earn new experiences, new stuff. Because if you're going there to everything you already know, then what's your learning? It's nothing. It was tough, but it was interesting, especially for my program because it's rotating between 3 different cities. So I spent a few months in every country, and once I'm settled, it's time to move again and seek residence permit. Yeah, and it's interesting, but it's
because you open up to different spheres and people, and you get new interaction.
Exactly.
Okay, now let's go back to the conference, talking about exchanging experience. Actually, that was the main objective of the conference, that Egyptian women living abroad and living here in the country would exchange experience and knowledge. How was that for you? Since you already, you're living here in Egypt, but you studied abroad. So how was the experience? Because you got to interact with successful women living abroad.
We come from very different backgrounds, very different specializations, different countries, even different ages. I was like maybe the youngest one of them. So yeah, it was very rich experience, and it was very interesting as well to, like what you have mentioned, interacting with successful Egyptian women here in Egypt. And Captain Mona Shandi, she's the leader of the Australian Navy.
Yes.
Yeah. She mentioned that in this.
She came with her uniform.
Yeah. In her concluding words, she said that you are searching for something abroad that you already have here. You have awesome women here in Egypt. And I believe that Egyptian women have the faith in themselves. They have the trust. They have the abilities. They just lack the opportunity. To be honest, it's much more better now than decades ago. But now comes the part of the Egyptian men. They have to trust their women, fathers, husbands, brothers. They have to trust their women, and that the success of your woman is the success of yourself, because she will educate your children. She will make them successful people.
So how do you intend to be exchanging expertise that you learned in Germany, in Italy, in Holland, back here in Egypt?
Well, first of all, everybody back in Germany asks me, are you intending to stay here like forever? And I say, no. I love my home country, I love my family, I want to go back. I can't be here or there, I'd be like between here and there. But I really want to come back and go back to my work and my job in the Cairo University to transfer this knowledge to my students and try, not just the knowledge, we really lack the system, it's about the system, to change in the educational system in Egypt. And let me take this opportunity to just يعني present this call for everybody who can change the educational legal system in Egypt. Please, the law schools in Egypt, they don't have the chance and the opportunity that they deserve. A huge number of students every year are just like enforced on the law school. We don't choose our students, they just come. And it's a very, very huge number that we don't even have the resources to serve them. So the graduates are not on the requested level, not on the appropriate level, and it's just out of our hands. Not everybody must have to the university. We must have technical education.
Yes.
But don't you think that this has happened to you? You wanted mass communication, but you got law school.
Yeah, but I was already one of the like elite of the graduates of the high school. I had like 95%.
Yes.
So yeah, I
But it was not your first choice. That's
I
what
would
I
go
meant.
to the university anyway. It was the second choice. So mass communication didn't have it, so let's go to the... I had other options, but I wanted law school after mass communication. What I mean is just the numbers. You can't put like 10,000 students in one hall and expect any lecturer in the universe
Any type of learning.
to teach them. It's just impossible. It can't happen.
So you want to downgrade the numbers?
Yeah, downgrade. And if you
No, it's not about downgrading the numbers. It's about reforming the whole system.
The whole
It's
application
about,
But this could
it's
happen
about changing the
in the
culture of
next
the
year.
society.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
following the ثانوية عامة
Yeah,
revelations. that
It's
we
all
have
about
seen.
the higher, the council for the higher education. I mean, if you already downgrading the number, the application will be harder. It's just logic, because it's supply and demand.
Yes.
So yeah, if you will take only like 500 students, you will take the best 500 students that wanted to go to the law school, and this will reflect on the level of the graduates.
Yes.
Yes,
Inevitably.
of course.
Yeah.
During the conference, you mentioned Captain Mona Shindi. There were also other successful women. There was someone who's advisor to the Ministry of Justice in Australia or
Yeah,
in
Nurhan
the
Badr.
Netherlands. If I'm
Netherlands, yeah.
Yes, in the Netherlands, and there were numerous amounts or numerous numbers of successful women. How did this feel to you to interact with all those women?
I was surprised, actually. I mean, advisor of the Minister of Justice in Netherlands.
Because this is somehow related to your...
At the age of 26. I mean, she's not a lawyer. She's expert in psychology, but she's very interested with the public work and combating terrorism. So that's why she became the advisor. But I mean, at the age of 26, it's already a big achievement. And of course, Professor Huda Al-Maraghi, Professor Iman, a remote sensing expert. I mean, you always hear about these experts, but when you meet
By the way,
face
most
to
of them were
face-
educated here in Egypt.
Yeah.
Surprisingly enough. And they immigrated at a later stage.
Yeah, and this
Some
is
of them learned abroad, but many of them were
most of them.
graduates.
Yeah, it's like it's a source of pride, but it's also like a threat that we have to think about. Why our glamorous people go out there and benefit other societies? We have to listen to them, to change it. We need them here as well.
Exactly.
Yes.
You said that most of the cleverest students that we have are benefiting other societies other than Egypt. How do you think this should be changing in the future, in the coming years, that they should be coming back and benefiting Egypt? How can we do that? Especially women.
Yeah, we have made this dozens of times before with Dr. Ahmed Zouel, with Dr. Farouk El-Baz. They come back to Egypt and they start some institution and it doesn't go well and they go back. Because it's just not practical that you transplant an organ from a foreign environment to your environment. It's just different. It doesn't work. And this is the privilege about Egypt can. They don't tell people come back to Egypt and just live here because we will not get use of this. But they tell them you have expertise in a specific field. Come and transfer this expertise to some of our youth or people who are working on the public sectors, or start an initiative on a specific scale or a specific project to get benefit of this.
Were you invited to be starting an initiative here in Egypt? in your field?
Yeah, it's when I talked in the conference, we didn't have, of course, enough time. It was like only 2 days.
Yes.
So the Ministry of Immigration asked me to give like a written report of all the ideas that I want to apply here in Egypt, and I and my other colleagues received an open invitation from Her Highness Nabila Makram, Dr. Nabila Makram, that whenever you have a specific idea, a specific initiative, you know what you want to do, with whom, just send me a message. We all have a personal contact with her. I will coordinate this and just consider it done. So we are now on like the brainstorming on what specifically we are doing. Some of us already had meetings, side meetings with representatives of different ministries in Egypt to work on specific initiatives. For me, I think I will work on the legal awareness between the people, because I really think that we need it nowadays in Egypt.
Speaking of that, you have studied the issue of Egyptian women in transitional justice after 2011 revolution. How do you see this?
Well, I think that it refers to a very important concept, is that it's not about law. In Egypt, we have laws that are anti-sexual harassment and anti-rape, and very honoring to the women. But not enforced, and it's not just because of the state. Because during the revolution, we had different crimes against women, like the mass harassments in Tahrir or other crimes, and it was all about convincing the victims to go and report these crimes, and convincing their families as well. Sometimes it was even hard to find the criminals because it was a mass harassment, and because we still don't have solid institutions that are monitoring these accidents. So this tells us that it's not about the legal context, it's about the legal context, how we apply it. We need the awareness of women themselves. And to be honest, step by step, it's becoming promoted now. Women stand for themselves and ask for their legal rights. So this is a call for every Egyptian woman. If you are waiting there for somebody to come and give you your rights and enforce the law, this is not happening. It will not happen. You have to go for your rights yourself, that is already there in the law and the constitution, and enforce them on reality.
So this is part of your initiative, which is called Spreading Legal Awareness here in Egypt, that you want to be spreading in the coming years. So what other parts do you want to be working on?
I'm interested in let's make them 3 aspects. The first, the legal awareness. The second is the legal education. As I mentioned before, I want to spot the shortcomings and the legal research in Egypt, to work on them, especially that some of them not necessarily need like huge fund. I know that we have economic hardships now, so we don't have the fund. And the last thing is the legal reformation, and we have now a council on legislation reformation that we need to cooperate about some of the legislations in Egypt.
Yes, Dr. Iman Rashwan, the PhD holder from the European Program of Law and the Economics in Germany. Thank you very much for being with us today on Nile Cruise.
Thank you very much, Dr. Iman. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Very pleasure for us to host you.
For me.
And ladies and gentlemen, stay with us. We'll be right back after a short break.